So the pound collapsed. And at one point, intraday, for the first time in history, the pound was worth less than $1. That had never happened before. And it bounced back. But for a brief moment in time, $1 bought more than 1 pound. The bond market vigilantes awoke from their slumber. And so rates were soaring and put a stop to the rate cuts and Liz Truss's tenure. She is now the shortest serving prime minister in the history of the UK. She was in office for all of 49 days. Now, pound sterling isn't the world reserve currency, but the same situation applies to the United States. The debt is now so big, the budget deficit so large, and the movement to de-dollarize is already underway, despite the knee-jerk reaction today in the foreign exchange markets. I don't think the bond market is going to allow this. Interest rates are going to keep rising, and that may stop the tax cuts from ever arising, because we could actually have a crisis before Trump even takes the oath of office, which would be great news, because then it's hard to blame Trump. I mean, maybe they'll say, well, it's because people are worried about Trump. But if it happens while Biden is still in office, so much the better. But if we don't get a bond crisis that stops the tax cuts before they happen, we'll get a bond crisis after the tax cuts happen, which of course will be worse for the, blaming it on Trump. But it's going to happen. There is no way. Now, there's only one way that you could stop this, because the UK really didn't have, this ace up its sleeve like we do for now. The Fed is going to have to go back to QE, which is what I've been saying they're going to do. The only way to stop long-term interest rates from soaring and crushing the economy and the stock market and the banks and everything, right, that Trump is promising to pump up. The only way we can have these tax cuts, at least in the short run, is if the Fed goes back to quantitative easing to monetize the massive budget deficits that the tax cuts produce. Now, that is not bullish for the US dollar. It's the opposite. That is not bearish for gold. It is the opposite. So I was talking about the Trump trade before and the stocks that were going up on anticipation of Trump winning that have still gone up. And, maybe the buy the rumor, sell the fact will take a little longer before the selling comes. But now the Trump trade is the inflation trade. Gold is now the Trump trade. Silver is the Trump trade. Mining stocks are the Trump trade. Big time, because that is what Trump is going to produce. The markets have completely forgot about that in this euphoric celebration, right? The markets always look for a reason to rally, run the stops, get everybody hyped up and excited, overlooking what's happening in the bond market, and that it's going to continue. And as it continues, it has to spill over into the stock market. Tomorrow will be a big day. And either I'll do another podcast tomorrow, I'll do it Friday. I mean, I might wait for Friday just to give people a chance to listen to this, because I know I got to talk about the reaction to what the Fed says. Although sometimes it takes the second day. Sometimes there's a knee-jerk reaction, and then you have the opposite reaction the following day. So maybe Friday would be a better time to kind of recap what happened on both Thursday and Friday and give people a chance to listen to this podcast. This is not, happy days are here again, and it's frustrating because I really wish I could celebrate. I got so many friends here. I had a bunch of people over my house on last night for a watch party, and we were up till like 2 a.m, like high-fiving and celebrating that Trump won. But to me, I have mixed feelings about it because I know what's coming, right? I know that all this is just BS, right? I mean, I'm glad that the voters chose Trump over Harris. But again, they wouldn't have chose Trump if he had told the truth. If he hadn't told so many promises that he can't possibly deliver. He bought all the votes, including the crypto community, pandering to them, get their money, get their votes. We're going to set up a Bitcoin reserve, right? So he was just giving out all kinds of money, promising the moon, and he can't deliver on it. And so I know this is not going to end well. And I'm still have the trepidation that it's going to be blamed because the media's already got the narrative. Because according to the media, the economy is great. Bidenomics worked like a charm. We have a great economy. Trump said he's going to fix it. If everything collapses right away, See what Trump did. And they're going to tie Trump to capitalism, free markets, deregulation, less government, right? So they're going to really hang this collapse on free market capitalism and Trump. And if you thought Kamala was left wing, wait till you see who we elected 4 years, because of this collapse. So I'm nervous about that, right? That was be careful what you wish for because it might happen. That's the one reason I said, well, if Harris wins, the one thing about it is at least, if it collapses on her, it's not going to be blamed on Republicans or Trump, even though, look, the Republicans bear a lot of responsibility for what happened. Look what happened with George Bush and George W. Bush in particular. I was highly critical of George Bush as other Republicans were singing his praise, like Larry Kudlow, who's probably going to be back in the Trump administration. We need more people